The day we drove from Santa Monica to the West Valley to see the Orange House, I wore a black long-sleeve shirt. The sun almost bore a hole through that shirt the moment I stepped out of the car. Why did I wear black in the middle of summer over Micro? That's what we called him then, inside my 5-month pregnant belly. As we strode up the steep driveway, I noticed a plumeria growing right at the edge of the front yard. Plumeria has the sweetest scent of any flower on the planet, like jasmine dipped in honeysuckle, bundled in ambrosia, and shellacked with butter icing. It's my favorite flower. The owner was a builder, his wife an artist, so little personal touches were everywhere. A handmade built-in wooden sink cabinet, a stained glass mural across the floor-to-ceiling windows, and a gigantic, curvy kitchen island. It was the summer of 2012. Every house we bid on was a feeding frenzy, 5, 6, 7 other offers. We wrote heartfelt letters for every one, detailing how the future life of our unborn son could only shine in this beautiful home, on this beautiful street, in this beautiful neighborhood. For the Orange House, there were no other bidders. I wept for Santa Monica, where I'd lived for 15 years, but I also sensed that something unknown and completely magical lay ahead. The day we got the keys, I remember climbing the 23 steps to the front door and pushing down on the handle. It felt like walking into our very own vacation chalet. That first evening, my beloved and I stretched out our legs on the front deck of our empty house and watched the sun set in brilliant pink streaks over our new neighborhood. One of my favorite things about the Orange House is the yard. There's a front yard and a backyard situated on a ridiculous hill, dotted mostly by drought-resistant plants and trees, with a waterfall that splashes down into a pond. And one corner of the front yard is anchored by the most prolific mid-sized lemon tree I've ever witnessed. 500 lemons twice a year, like clockwork. I love yard work. I get that from my father, who had the greenest thumb you ever did see. He planted endless gardens every year and spent a lot of time out there, fueled by bourbon and gingers, which I could proudly make just the way he liked them. So I planted a garden, and my son got to eat homegrown beefsteak tomatoes as one of his first foods. I also planted an avocado tree that I grew from seed and built a plant window and hung a bird feeder on it and laced it with trumpet flowers. Caring for the yard was my delight. I don't think my husband cared much. He was more concerned about the water usage than anything. We immediately made the Orange House our own, giving special attention to the baby's room, of course. We painted my office mint green, the baby's room blue and tan, and Dada's office daffodil yellow. And there was also a room where the parents slept together, until they didn't. But that comes later. We're still in the new love, new house, baby on the way part of the story, drenched in oxytocin and idealism. Winter came, my belly grew, my work slowed, my water broke, and in the room where the parents slept, between the sunken bathtub and the window, I gave birth to a perfect baby boy. The three of us burrowed together in blissful baby love for 2 whole weeks without ever leaving the house. I love that Maverick can show you the exact spot where he was born. Too many delicious memories to count. Maverick coming to visit me in my office, bouncing on the cushy corner chair with his beautiful smile and silly songs. Tom's glistening arms after working for weeks to install a solar array on the roof so we could live and drive on the sun. The incredibly kind next-door neighbors who declared from day one that their swimming pool was our swimming pool. Climbing out the top floor window to watch the family of red-tailed hawks circle the neighborhood. In the morning that Maverick and I saw a coyote take a little breather in our backyard, then rise with certitude and leap over the back fence, plus all the pets, the cats and the fish and the gecko and the dog. It feels impossible to explain what happened because there were so many little things that became big things that were like millions of unpluggable fissures all around the edifice of our life. And it makes me wonder if my bond with Maverick's father was ever truly stable. I call it my origami relationship because I felt like I had to fold myself into this very specific creature for it all to work. I never wanted to do 90% of the parenting. I didn't like cooking all the meals. I didn't like non-kitchen stuff on the giant kitchen island. I really hated it when Tom put used eggshells back into the carton and left them there until weeks later when the final egg was cracked. And I didn't like the sex. But I really, really loved the love. I lived in the Orange House for 9 years. Maverick's dad told me he would never leave his house. I'm pretty sure that he meant to say our house, since we bought it together and we lived there together and we raised our child there together and we were married. He also told me that if I ever left, I could never come back. But after years of trying to tape our fissures back together with weekend trips and MFT visits and even a tantric sex therapist, I knew I had to call his bluff. I needed to get some perspective, to take a step back from our life in the Orange House and get a better view. I told you, if you ever leave, you're never coming back. Apparently, he wasn't bluffing. So, on June 1st, 2021, I drove away from the Orange House toward a 10-day writing retreat in Mendocino. And I had a 1-month house sit in Topanga set up right after that. I started to breathe again. Our mediator said our divorce was the fastest she'd ever seen. 6 months and 1 day. I blame it on our clarity. I'm occasionally welcomed into the foyer of the Orange House, from which I can spy the front deck where we stretched out our legs and our hearts on that very first night. And I can see the bulbous kitchen island, which is now covered in several layers of non-kitchen stuff. Maverick now has 2 50% parents and 2 houses, one with me on a lake in Calabasas and the Orange House, where twice a year one can spot 500 lemons rotting on the ground. My time in the Orange House, it's not one thing. It's a tapestry of broken eggshells and crusty pond scum woven together with couch snuggles and trumpet flowers. It's a decade of my life that truly is the best investment I ever made. Thank you, Orange House.